Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of the Kyle Suggs Show. I am here, as you can see, with Miss Lovely Nicole, and I asked her to come on briefly today because she's really, really busy. I'll let her explain about that to you if you don't know who she is. But we want to talk because I did a video yesterday about Miss Kamala Harris and her time as a truant hunter, I would imagine, as her AG in California. So I wanted to ask Nicole, and Nicole, again, I know I ask you this all the time, but some people may not know who you are. So explain, just tell everyone who you are and then talk to them about my concerns about the body language I'm getting from this woman in this video that we're going to try and go over.
Sure. Well, first of all, Kyle, as usual, thanks for having me. It's always fantastic to be on your show and just talk about psychology and communication and politics. It's a fantastic passion of mine, all three of those, really. The thing, I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor. So I have my own therapy practice called High Performance Counseling. I work with goal-directed, action-oriented individuals who need to get out of their own way, level up their lives, and be more productive, be more insightful, and be the change they want to see in their lives. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And I've been in practice for 7 or 8 years now at this point. And so getting right down to it, this commercial that highlighted the VP, Kamala Harris, was disturbing on many, many levels. And as a parent, I know you're a parent, I am a parent. Her time as AG, for those who haven't seen the entire video, I'm sure you've seen it by now. It's kind of plastered all over the place. But she is going after parents of truant kids who are skipping school, and prosecuting them in this video. And she did that for her time while she was in California. And there's so many places to go with this. From a purely psychological perspective, the chilling effect that has on a parent, that they wouldn't, they would have their livelihood destroyed, that they would be somehow criminally prosecuted. Now, that doesn't mean, I have yet to meet one parent that doesn't think their child should go to school. Now, we could expand that further and say there are probably a lot of parents that don't want their children to go to public school, but that's a discussion for another day, because public school is riddled with some difficulties. However, most parents, I would say as a rule, want their children to go to school. And for those kids who are skipping school, and I would say that would be your middle and high school kids who, get on the bus and get off the bus and don't enter the school building doors. Or in the instance that was laid out in this commercial, there was a child that was chronically ill and was out an inordinate amount of days due to medical reasons. Now, if you've had a child in public school, or if you've been in public school yourself, you know that the counselors are there, that attendance is always monitored. And if there is a child with excessive absences, that is identified at the school level and at the administrative level, and that the parent is contacted and usually asked for an explanation, or are there extenuating circumstances for your child's absence. That there would be some sort of reporting to the authorities without first reaching out to the parent for an explanation is just unconscionable. And some of the, I really question, I don't question that this happened, because obviously it did, but why would the school administration not give that parent the benefit of the doubt about his or her child and why they're out of school? right? So for every parent to think that I keep my child out of school for a few days, I'm going to be reported to authorities. So much for a partnership between the school and the parents, the parent-teacher association, right? There is no alliance there, or, much less compassion for what parents have to handle. Now, are there parents who are derelict in sending their children to school? Perhaps. But again, those parents are usually on the radar of the counselors in the school. So there's always a multi-level of administration and staff who are looking out for these kids, because the kids' well-being is what we're after, in terms of education. So that this was instituted, and it was done. And you know what I like in this too? This is like sitting in a church parking lot as a patrol officer and running plates to see who's got an expired plate. Right? This is like sitting and just running plates for the heck of it as a law enforcement officer. It's trying to play gotcha, right? And it has a predatory feel to it, is what it has. And so that's the optics on just what happened. That's the facts of what happened. They decided that they were going to criminally prosecute. And so it does have a really aggressive, bent to it in terms of policy. But then let's go one step further and listen to her gleefully relate her power and how with a stroke of a pen, and that right there, okay, the voice going up and then coming down like that. Kind of like how our president will all of a sudden whisper, and he's got that whisper, and it sounds like when you change your voice like that, it's disturbing to the ear. The brain kind of goes into, like fear mode, because the most soothing voice has a cadence and a rhythm, and is in an even tone, in an even range. Okay. But when you go up and down like that, you sound a little unhinged. And when she was talking about with the stroke of my pen, I thought I was watching the movie Misery, right? By Stephen King. It had this like unhinged kind of, this is what nightmares are made of kind of, narrative voice in the background. And I was like, quite literally, this woman is drunk on her own power.
Yeah, that's what I got too.
Yeah. And I don't use the word drunk lightly. There have been some memes that have accused the vice president perhaps day drinking because of the variance in her voice. And when you get inebriated, your hearing is the first thing to go. So you don't know how loud you sound. You don't know where your voice goes, right? So her huge range of voice and tone gets erratic quickly. And maybe that's a nervous tic. I don't know what's going on, but it's disturbing. And go ahead.
I'm sorry. I cut you off. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was going to say, maybe we can listen to the first minute of the video.
Absolutely.
and just, cause I'm sure people want to hear and see this, because everything to me was just disgusting, but even the laughing as we get into, let's see how this sounds. Hopefully it'll be fine.
Okay.
And I'm not going to edit this in. This part I'm telling you directly. If it breaks up, whatever, we'll just act like it's fine. And I'll just superimpose the video on top of it.
It sounds
in
good.
post.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if this works.
Dear Kamala Harris, let's get one thing crystal clear. The vast majority of American men have no issue with electing a female president. Our issue lies solely with you. You were second in charge of California for 13 years.
As California's Attorney General, Harris promoted enforcement of a law that allowed prosecutors to seek jail time for parents of truant kids.
As a prosecutor and law enforcement, I have a huge stick. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy.
I thought that was crazy. I was like, how can you lock parents up?
If you don't go to school, Kamala's going to put you and me in jail. Yes, we achieved intended effect.
You want to say something? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the dancing on the backs of the bruised comes to mind.
What's that?
Dancing on the backs of the bruised. I mean, that look, that face, the gleeful, look of, that I can put you in jail. There is, I can't think of a more negative experience. Well, I mean, I guess I can, but a negative experience for somebody who has probably never been in jail or who has not been involved in the system, to be put in county for 30 days or to be, so removed like that. It is horrifying on so many levels. So, and for her to smile like that she would do that to parents. I mean, we do everything that we can from a social services perspective and a counseling perspective to never let children see their parents being taken to jail or incarcerated. We never want children to have that visual. If it's at all avoidable, we take pains and align with law enforcement so that doesn't happen. And she is smiling about it like, oh, and it had the intended effect. Yeah, she ruined lives over this. Absolutely.
And the girl, I'll play to the part where the woman and the mother, well, there's actually two people that are, well, we'll just keep going. We'll talk after the fact.
Sure.
Because I don't want to spoil people who haven't seen it. I don't want to corrupt their opinion. I want them to see for themselves firsthand.
Yes, we achieved intended effect.
I opened the door and I see at least 7 or 8 cops wanted to arrest me. As a matter of fact, they did.
And frankly, the prosecutors in my office who volunteered to do this? My homicide prosecutors, my gang prosecutors. And they went over there and I said, when you go over there, look really mean.
She had me arrested and prosecuted because my handicapped daughter was sick in the hospital and had missed some days of school.
I learned that with the swipe of my pen, I could charge someone with the lowest level offense. That person could be arrested. They could lose time from work and their family maybe lose their job. They'd have to come out of their own pocket to help hire a lawyer. They'd lose standing in their community.
I lost my job and couldn't pay rent, and we got evicted.
Weeks later, I could dismiss the charges, but their life would forever be changed.
I became homeless. We had to move into a motel.
All because of the swipe of my pen.
I don't agree what Kamala Harris did to my mom, and I don't agree with what she's done to other parents as well.
You were second in charge of the United States for 4 years.
Okay, they go into some other stuff about I'm not going to play the rest of the video because it goes into other parts that really aren't applicable to our video here. But it talks about the war on everything else. But that was what I want people to see, that part of it, and the smugness. I get the whole law aspect of it, but there's it's a tactful way of being able to say these things. And actually, she got into the money too. Shall I play that part too? She talks about the money, how she wants the money. Remember that part of the video?
I would, and let's look at that.
Let's just keep going. We'll finish it up, and we'll finish up. I only have you for a few more minutes. I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time. So let's
Okay.
If anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years? There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Inflation is hitting the highest level in 39 years.
A record high number of illegal crossings.
Crime's been surging across the nation.
Huge spikes in homicides.
Could we be heading toward World War III?
After 17 years of failed leadership, you are now asking us to trust you as first in charge of our country.
I am concerned and focused on big issues. Elementary and middle school truancy is actually a big issue if we're trying to save the state money.
Because of truancy, California public schools lose $1.4 billion a year in funding.
I want money.
My message to all Americans, do not trust Kamala Harris.
As men and protectors of women and children, you are simply a risk we are not willing to take.
Paid for by MAHA Alliance and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
You see Game of Thrones, Cersei? Did you follow that show on HBO, Game of Thrones?
I didn't. I should have. And yeah.
Okay, I won't spoil it, but she's Cersei all the way, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, diabolical comes to mind. It's like, well, I want the money. Now, and the connection there is that because of enrollment, all right, in public schools, the per capita or the numbers of enrolled students is what dictates the federal funding. So if you have more children not enrolled in school, and we saw this happen during the pandemic because a lot of people pulled their kids and permanently homeschooled them. So a lot of these districts, their enrollment went down. So they lost funding because it's done on a per student basis. So basically, she's trying to scare the pants off of everybody to get their kids back in school so that the federal funding can go back up. She wants that money, is what she said.
That makes sense.
So, and that's all it is. But between the flight out of California because of policies like this, among others, the pandemic, which I'm sure brought down public school enrollment like it did across the entire nation, more than likely enrollment just organically came down because of those two factors. And
good point.
So, truancy aside, and and I also want to say, and I touched on this earlier when you and I had our back and forth conversation, we're not saying the quiet part out loud here. And I'm hoping with all hope that we get a change in administration, but whoever becomes Secretary of Education, we have to make school interesting again. I don't know a single student, and I work with some 16 to 18-year-olds in my practice. 16 is as young as I'll go. But I don't know a single one who is really enthused with school. They go because they have to, but it's not particularly interesting or compelling. And I know you're competing with social media and you're competing with all of the different social media platforms. There's schools and behavior or parenting issues at home. I know, education doesn't occur in a vacuum. However, we've got to make folks, young people, enthusiastic about school again somehow. And I don't know what that takes, but our public education needs a system or needs an entire overhaul on the system that makes it so that kids actually want to be there and think that what they're learning is going to be of value to them post-graduation. Because I can guarantee you right now, a lot of people don't think that. A lot of young people don't think that. And, the value of public school specifically is a really hard sell for, I think, most parents now too. So their skin in the game is not what it was even 15 or 20 years ago.
I have two things to say, and I'll have one comment there and one open question for you. And then that's pretty much all I have in terms of this video. But I think you'll fill in the rest. You've already filled in everything I wanted to hear about. I have something specifically for you about Kamala Harris and her personality style or whatever. Mm-hmm. But just directly to talk to you about that particular point about school being boring, I think I have a great idea. I remember when I went to school, bring back several things. Bring back music when you would sing like, folk songs, on top of Old Smoky, and sing patriotic songs, My Country 'Tis of Thee, Star Spangled Banner, and let every single state have it so that they can tell you about their state flower, their state song, their state whatever. Right. So there's stuff there, but then bring in the 1776 project, which is what it's basically a non-revisionist history, and you can make it inclusive as much as you want. You can make it. I mean, every culture has done something for this country to bring it where it is. You can bring in Black accomplishments. You can bring in the people who came in from China, the Chinese Americans who came in, who sacrificed their lives from getting blown up from nitroglycerin, trying to plow through the West, the mountains. They played a huge part in that in the Intercontinental Railroad. Then you have, I can go on and on, Hispanics and everything else, whites, his Polish, everything. Have it inclusive. That way you're being fair. Because quite frankly, we didn't get a lot of Black culture back in high school, but we could have, because there's tons of stuff to celebrate. So. And here's the best part. Here's the best part, Nicole, is that it will be exciting because they'll know that this country is a great country. You don't have to think you're going to a whole country that you live in one, because you're told that. So what's the point of being successful in life if you think your country sucks? So celebrate all of that. Celebrate Christmas. Celebrate, Thanksgiving. Tell the true story. Tell the true story about the Pilgrims. Tell the story about how the Pilgrims locked slave people who actually were man stealers. They locked them away, and some put them in jail and killed some of them for doing slavery. They don't tell you that kind of stuff, right? I can go on and on and on. I can, but that's my statement. I'll let you finish here. I really just want to know, when you finish up your statement, just who is she as a person, and in terms of her psychology and personality type. So if you want to talk about what I just said there, and then kind of finish up with that, that's all I really would want to talk to you about, because I just was really curious about when I did that video yesterday as to what is in her head and what she's thinking about.
That's a great question. So absolutely, to your first point, totally agreed. If we could present a vision of this country that doesn't come across as punitive or slighting, minorities at one stage or another, but that highlighted the contributions of all, like you said, make it as inclusive as possible. It was not, one set or group of people that did XYZ, but it was a commonality in a way across mindset, as far as rugged individualism of, coming to this country and doing something that nobody's ever done before, creating a government that's never been created or replicated before. So, and actually highlighting in a positive way how this country, in my opinion, is extremely unique and imbued with, values and mores and virtues that transcend almost globally, right? We, like that woman was saying, with the right leader in place, we have the power in this country to transform the world in a fantastic way. I don't think anybody thinks that, from a global imperialist perspective, that the United States wants to take over. I really don't think that. But we are interested in people living free, independent, self-directed lives. And I think we believe that for all cultures and for all peoples, regardless of where they are on this planet. And that's what we would like, right? That's our highest aspiration for others. So there's my cheerleading, yes.
That's very good. That's very good.
Golf clap for what you just said.
That's very good.
There, I just had to throw in, as I, bleed red, white, and blue. Second of all, who is this woman? If I were to put on my therapist hat, which it's on, obviously, I say, I would almost call her like the Kamala the chameleon, right? She changes her tune dependent on who she's in front of. We've seen the accents thrown, 7 or 8 of them over the last few weeks. And they don't land well. There are some people who can pull that off, but they aren't landing even with the base. And that, again, that throws people off. I think even your most fervent supporter is wondering exactly who she is. And at the end of the day, I think she is in the same lot as a lot of politicians, university presidents, other people who have been falsely promoted upward for winking and nodding in a specific way, but having no real substance. I really question, where she stands on anything. What is it that she values in her life? She is a career politician with no children, with no real clear values that we've heard of. And I say that right now because I thought we were on the Hope and Joy campaign of about 6 weeks ago. So I thought, oh, well, okay, we're going to get this, all about the feelings. I care about you. That was the rhetoric in the beginning. And people want to feel cared about, right? That particular approach does land well with people, even when it's coming from a politician, because everybody wants to think, oh, they're going to listen to me and care about what happens to me. Fast forward to this week, and we're back to Trump is Hitler, democracy is dying. And, I mean, this is a fair weather friend, right?
Yeah.
It's like your borderline personality that loves you, that thinks you're amazing. But then you said, well, but why did you do this? You're a fascist, right? You're not my friend anymore, off with your head. And you get whiplash from trying to, okay, we went from all the feels to, you're in the wrong campaign or you're in the wrong rally. And so I think people are confused over who she is. I think she's an agreeable enough woman, meaning that she has some sense of agreeable in that she's a yes woman. She tries to be a people pleaser, but it's not coming from a genuine place. And I would argue that is because she didn't get to where she is from a genuine place. Right. So, had she worked her way and had this pedigree of working through the ranks, if you will, to achieve her position, had she not had a completely plagiarized book, had she not had, the kind of sleeping her way to the top and who she associated, the Willie Brown controversy, although it's widely regarded that is not much of a controversy, actually. Right. And I'm not demoralizing her for that yet. So what is it? And people are still asking what she stands for. And I hate it for her because actually, they put her in a trick box. She's darned if she does and she's darned if she doesn't. If she goes against and says, well, I didn't like anything that Biden did, she's backed into a corner because she was there on every decision. And She said publicly she doesn't think she would do anything differently. If she says she would do things differently, well, then why haven't you? It's a classic double bind that she, quite frankly, it's strangling her. She cannot get out of. So the only real tack left is to go on the attack and, call your opponent fascistic, which is ironic as all get out because she was the fascist arresting parents. That was the government
That's a good point.
after parents.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
That, if that's not fascism, I don't know what is. So that was my Kamala laugh, by the way. Did you hear me laugh right there? Yeah. I was cackling for a minute. But the irony here is it makes my head explode. It's like, how can you, and that's the cognitive dissonance that she's expecting the country to hold in their head, is that she's going to be different, even though she hasn't been different. But see, she's so different, but she's not different. And we have to somehow reconcile those in this candidate. Whereas, you know, we're getting actual plans, we're getting, you know, and any other politician, in my opinion, would have been a good choice. I don't know why they thought this was a good choice, because she had a double bind going in from the jump. So, you know, that, I mean, I think that's why WAPO or New York Times is saying that actually Biden would have been a better candidate, because at least he would have had the sympathetic old man vote. Right. And, but I don't think she's getting any kind of sympathy. Right. I really don't. No,
she's not.
She's getting the anti-Trump vote.
Right.
She's getting people who do not like him, and will never vote for him anyway, but they want to vote, so they will vote for her. In terms of, you know, in terms of her personality, I'd question the, you know, I think her neuroticism is really high. And with neuroticism, you have withdrawal and volatility as aspects of that personality trait. I think her volatility is extremely high, meaning she'll get aggressive, right? She'll get aggressive. She will get in your face. And we've seen her get angry during interviews. And we've seen her aggressive behavior in that video going after, you know, parents. And then the other law that she had that put a ton of people in jail for possession of a small amount of marijuana also, right? So she's all about some aggressiveness. So I would say that neuroticism is really high. And, you know, she uses that as her sword to, you know, and her shield to protect against the fact that she doesn't have anything else. She's an empty suit.
That's a really
in every you know, state of the word. I think her conscientiousness, her ability to follow through is very low, because she didn't. She was in charge of the border czar. She's been put. What else was done? Oh, we were going to put the internets all over the place, you know, and connect everybody, and nobody was connected. You know, nothing has been followed.
How much money that costs?
Yeah, exactly. So the follow through is not there, i.e. the conscientiousness is not there, which is why she doesn't have any accomplishments to really point to. And nobody's more shocked than she is to see that she's running right now. I don't really think she ever thought it would happen. Or else she would have done something more to prepare for it. Again, lack of conscientiousness that, you know, we're watching, and people want to know what you stand for. And when you can't string two sentences together without bringing in the words hopes and aspirations, there's a problem. And today's voter is more educated than they've ever been, and have more access to information than they've ever been. And she can't provide, you know, a plan that is realistic. Helicoptering money from the sky sounds amazing. But I think most people now know that there's nothing free. It must be paid by the taxpayer. So give us $50,000 off of home prices, but where does that money come from? And she can't answer that basic question without saying that taxes must increase, which nobody wants to hear. And her team has told her, well, you can't say that. So, you know, as much as I don't like her as a candidate, or as a prepared candidate, I just don't think she's prepared to take this kind of leadership role. I honestly feel sorry for her, because I would think internally being a fly on the wall for that campaign must be like chewing glass. I can't imagine what it must like to have to go into work every day and figure out, okay, what are we going to do now with this hot mess of a situation? So yeah, these 8 days can't pass, or however many days we have left.
It's about 8 days, about 8, yeah,
7
about
days.
8. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my long answer to who she is personality wise. And if we do get a change come November election day, I think she'll just fade. She'll be a university president somewhere. She'll just fade into oblivion. I think she'll be done in politics. She'll move over to consulting and or run, some division of a HBCU or some university somewhere. And,
Howard University, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And I doubt she won't be making return appearances like Obama's and those folks. She'll just fade into the ether like the goblin she is. Happy Halloween.
There you go. That's good. That's good. So yeah, I like that assessment. And I'll just say real quickly here. I know we probably running over, but I don't think she's really. Not only is she's not equipped to handle this. So the Democrats are all full of empty suits. Newsom, Obama to a lesser degree, and even Josh Shapiro. He doesn't really ever say anything. But they have political skills to get through this kind of thing and navigate that kind of thing. She doesn't have the political skills to do it, and that's her biggest problem. She can't even fake it. And I know her handlers tell her, if this happens, say A, B, and C. So, Kamala, what are you gonna say? X, Y, and Z. And they're like, and I'm sure they're in the back, like, what's going on? Because she panics.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And she's not ready for the world stage. No. And, the one thing I liked is, and just to touch on, optics do matter. They matter. And, when you're talking about, Trump does have the record. He's been there before. But when you're talking about a world leader and, deterrence and keeping, our enemies and folks in check. And we don't do it by intimidation. We do it by not telegraphing our next punch. Right. So it's like, exactly. The famous thing between Trump and Putin, don't go into Ukraine, don't go into that region, I'll bomb the mess out of you. And he said, no, you won't, Donald. And he goes, well, I might. And that's what we need. We need somebody who, not an unknown quantity, but we just want to be able to keep them guessing enough.
Yes.
And she can't do that. Being a politician is definitely a skill set. She's got the chameleon and the flip-flopping right. But she's on point there. But, even a city councilman can do that, right? That's low-level politics. She just failed upward. That's her honest to God, and they put it's like promoting the kid who cheated on every single book report and every single test. And now they're graduating and they're graduating and they don't know anything, but you know what? We can't put that 18-year-old back in fourth grade. So what are we going to do? And that's what happened.
Right. That's sad. He's the guy that suffers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hate it for her. I don't know. Unless you're just absolutely deluded, kind of like those singers that used to get on America's Got Talent and they couldn't sing at all, but they really thought they could. They really thought that they were good singers.
Right, because everyone told them they could.
Everybody told them, and well, my voice teacher tells me that I can, and your voice teacher's getting paid $45 an hour. and they're going to say, well, you sound okay.
You sound great.
You sound okay. Just keep this, and I mean, that's, and somebody's just got to be very real with her and say, you don't have the stones for this. You don't have what it takes to have the sticking power here. You just don't. And I say it's not her fault because too many people along the way have said that she does. And that's cruel. I think that's cruel to do to somebody. And somebody along the way has imbued her with talents and intelligence that is just not there. It's just not.
It's not. No.
And it's not her fault, any more than I don't have blue eyes. I just don't. So, there's no judgment necessarily, but the last thing, she doesn't need to be put in a position of power, any more than I need to be running NASA, because I like rockets or something.
I'll chase NASA before I put her in the White House.
Well, it begs the question.
You're smart enough to find people around you to do the job done. I mean,
I would hire it out.
I don't think she's smart enough to. I don't think she's smart enough to even do that.
Right, or to admit that you don't know.
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
And true understanding of self comes from acknowledging your limitations.
Right.
And we all have them. And like I said, I'm not running NASA anytime soon, much less running the free world. So. And nobody told me I could either. Right. So it's an internal, it's an external, and, the lack of insight that she has is really disturbing, because I think if she were more insightful, more so than power hungry, more so than aggressive, then she would have had the hubris to have said, yeah, I'm not ready for this. But she hasn't. And so even in her fecklessness and ineptness in all the positions that she's been in, she was still promoted. So if this isn't an example of DEI gone wrong, absolutely, I don't know what is.
Yeah, this is the opposite of what MLK was talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And God help us all that everybody needs to vote right now.
Yes, make sure you vote. Bank your vote. Yeah, I did mine first day. Yeah.
Bank it early. I'm going this afternoon after my last client. I'm going down here, although I think Florida is going to bleed red, but they're even talking about Miami-Dade County going red.
They're leading early voting there.
Yes.
Florida may vote to the right of Texas.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. So anyway, everybody needs to vote early and often.
Indeed.
Yay.
Well, this has been a great live as well. I thought, as I mentioned to you in private, I'll say now publicly that you are my. Well, I won't say that. Well, I will say now since I said it. I'll probably make that now. I don't want to make anyone else think that, oh my gosh, I was on the show. I think that sucks. No, I just like doing lives with you. I think it works well because this whole aspect of what your skill set is so unique, which is why I just find it so fascinating. So
thank you. It lends itself well to politics, that's for sure. And it's an interesting take, and I'm happy to be here. I love what you do. I love who you're reaching and what we're doing. And I think great things with a good change coming up. I think great things are getting ready to happen. I'm truly optimistic. Truly.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm actually getting a little excited, but I don't get too excited because I was excited in 2020 as well.
I know. I'm trying. Giddy might. I'm almost there. Yeah. I need to calm down next few days. Yeah.
It's almost here. So.
Thank you.
Again, Nicole, thank you so much. And do you want to tell everyone how they can get a hold of you, what they can do to support you?
Absolutely. I am taking new clients. If you're interested in working with me for just one power session, or you want to be my client for life, I've got a couple of those, not many, but a few. You can go on Facebook and find me at High Performance Counseling. Kyle has my information, and
I'll put it on the screen here. I'll put it.
And High Performance Counseling is where you can find me on Google as well. So happy to work with you.
Great. Fantastic. All right, Nicole. Well, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to be up in X and going through all these numbers and all this stuff. I'm just like really just ready to get the thing over with. So
I know.
I'll be texting you privately with the rest of our group. We have a little group that we do stuff that you guys don't know about, but we try and keep ourselves sane, I think. We think so. So I'll see you on there as well. And
sounds good.
And everyone else, thank you for sharing this time with Nicole Kaufman, the Right Therapist. And guys, until next time, I'll see you. Until next video, I'll see you then.
All right.